Beloved, there comes a time in life when the weight of financial burdens presses so heavy upon the heart that it feels as though the very air is being squeezed from your chest. Some of you have cried silent tears at night, wondering how long you will walk under the shadow of debt. Others have prayed in desperation, asking if freedom will ever come. I am here today to tell you, yes, freedom is not only possible, it is promised. For the decree of heaven is greater than the demands of man. Your debt may look like an unshakable mountain, but I declare to you that mountains still move at the sound of faith-filled words. You were not created to live under the bondage of creditors, but to walk in the abundance of God's provision. Today, we stand together and make a powerful decree. Debts are canceled. Chains are broken, and supernatural favor is released. What once seemed impossible is turning around for your good. Lift your eyes, for your season of freedom is here. There is a power that lies within the spoken word. Your very tongue carries the authority to shape your destiny. Many live years under the heavy yoke of debt because they continually rehearse defeat, saying, "I will never get out of this," or "Debt will always be a part of my life." But the truth is this: what you confess continually begins to manifest in your reality. If your words are filled with fear, lack, and defeat, then you are building a prison with your own mouth. But if your words are filled with faith, courage, and freedom, then you are building the pathway to breakthrough. Boldness is not arrogance, it is confidence in the promises of God that you are not destined to remain in chains. To speak freedom means to declare with unwavering certainty that no matter what the numbers on the paper say, no matter what the collectors demand, no matter what your bank account reflects, there is a higher decree over your life. When you stand in the authority given to you, your voice becomes an instrument that shakes heaven and commands earth to align with divine provision. Words spoken with boldness are seeds planted into the unseen realm, and every seed brings forth a harvest. When you rise each morning and decree with confidence, "I am debt-free, I am blessed, I am walking in overflow," you are sowing into the soil of your future. Even when circumstances seem unchanged, those words are working silently, carving a new reality that will one day be visible. Bold speech is not about denying the problem, it is about announcing the solution before it manifests. Imagine a prisoner who holds the key in his hand but never dares to use it. Though freedom is available, he remains locked away. In the same way, many hold the key of bold confession, yet never turn it in the lock. Bold words are the action that unlocks the gates of financial freedom. Your decree is not weak or powerless. It carries the weight of heaven's authority. When you declare freedom, you align with divine law, and heaven itself moves to enforce your words. There was once a young mother who had fallen into deep debt after medical expenses drained her savings. Each month the pressure grew heavier, and her heart broke at the thought of raising her children under the cloud of lack. She wanted to believe things could change, but every phone call from creditors made her feel smaller and more helpless. One night, after crying herself to sleep, she decided to do something different. Instead of repeating her fears, she began to stand each morning in front of her mirror and declare boldly, "My debts are canceled, provision is flowing, my children will never live in poverty." At first it felt foolish. The bills were still there, the phone calls still came, but weeks later she was unexpectedly offered a higher position at her job. Soon after, a family member blessed her with financial help she had never asked for. Within a year, the debts that once suffocated her were completely gone. She looked back and realized that the turning point was not just the promotion or the help. It was the moment she chose to speak freedom with boldness instead of rehearsing defeat. This story is not just about one woman. It is a reflection of what can happen when anyone dares to lift their voice with courage. Debt is not only a financial matter, it is a spiritual chain designed to crush your faith and silence your confidence. That is why boldness is vital. Boldness does not mean ignoring reality. It means confronting reality with a higher truth. When you boldly declare freedom, you begin to shift your mindset from survival to victory. Fear loses its grip, anxiety begins to fade, and your spirit rises in strength. Every bold declaration builds your inner man, giving you the confidence to make wise decisions, seize opportunities, and step into provision that timid hearts cannot reach. Your voice was never meant to echo fear. It was designed to roar with faith. In every generation, those who spoke with boldness saw mountains move, seas part, and chains fall. The same power is alive in your words today. Bold speech must be consistent. It cannot be something you do only when emotions are high or when circumstances look favorable. It must become the very rhythm of your life, the song of your heart, the language of your home. When challenges rise, your words must rise higher. When doubt whispers, your voice must thunder louder. Freedom spoken once is powerful, but freedom spoken daily becomes unshakable. Let your home become an atmosphere where every word builds faith, not fear. Let your children hear you declare abundance instead of lack, breakthrough instead of bondage. For every word you speak is not just forming your reality, it is shaping theirs. As you boldly speak freedom, you create a legacy of victory that will outlive you. Remember, chains are not broken by silence. They are shattered by bold declarations filled with unshakable faith. Your future is listening to your voice today. And what you dare to speak boldly will determine what you will one day hold in your hand. There is a dimension of life where human strength fails, where calculations collapse, and where effort alone is not enough to break the chains of lack. It is in this place of desperation that the reality of supernatural provision is revealed. Too often, people measure their future by the limits of their paycheck, the size of their bank account, or the opportunities they see before them. But supernatural provision does not flow from earthly sources. It flows from a higher source, one that never runs dry. To believe in supernatural provision is to anchor your faith in the one who multiplied loaves and fishes, who caused manna to fall from heaven, and who turned water into wine. It is to look at impossibility and still whisper, "There is a way." Supernatural provision is not bound by economic reports, market crashes, or financial downturns. It transcends the natural and invades the impossible. When you choose to believe, you position yourself to receive resources, ideas, connections, and favor that cannot be explained by human logic. What men call coincidence is heaven's orchestration, and what looks like chance is often the precise hand of divine intervention at work. Believing in supernatural provision requires a shift in perspective. Instead of looking at lack as the final chapter, you see it as the canvas upon which God will paint his abundance. Natural eyes see the empty jar, but eyes of faith see it overflowing. Natural minds calculate debt, but faith counts blessings yet to appear. When you believe in supernatural provision, you begin to speak and act with expectation. You no longer shrink under the weight of bills or demands. You rise each day with a certainty that provision is on its way. This belief is not wishful thinking. It is rooted in the unshakable record of a God who has never failed to provide. Think of the widow who had nothing but a little oil, yet through obedience and faith, that oil became more than enough to pay her debts and sustain her family. Her story is a testimony that provision does not have to make sense. It only has to flow from the hands of the supernatural. Your faith becomes the container, and the size of your belief determines the size of your overflow. I recall the story of a man who lost his job unexpectedly after years of loyal service. With a family to support, bills piling up, and no savings left, he felt crushed. He tried every avenue, applications, interviews, even temporary work, but doors seemed to close one after another. In his despair, he remembered the words his grandmother once told him, "When resources end, heaven's storehouse begins." That night, instead of worrying, he knelt by his bedside and prayed with tears. "Lord, I believe you are my source. I trust in your supernatural provision." Days later, he received a call from someone he had not spoken to in years, offering him a contract for freelance work. That contract grew into a business, and soon he was earning more than his previous salary. with greater freedom and peace. He looked back and realized the supernatural provision did not come from where he expected. It came from the unseen hand arranging circumstances beyond his control. His story is a reminder that supernatural provision does not require your prediction. It only requires your faith. When you believe in supernatural provision, you carry yourself differently. Anxiety gives way to confidence. Fear bows to hope. Instead of rehearsing your needs, you begin to rehearse your trust. This does not mean you ignore responsibility or neglect diligence, but it does mean you stop placing your trust in limited systems. You understand that heaven has endless resources, and you are connected to that supply. Through your faith, opportunities begin to appear. Favor surrounds you, and solutions you never imagined start to manifest. People may call it luck, but you know it is provision that could only come from above. The supernatural realm is not a fantasy. It is a reality waiting for faith to activate it. Every time you believe, you unlock a flow of resources, strength, and wisdom that cannot be measured by earthly standards. Faith draws the invisible into the visible, the impossible into the possible, and lack into abundance. Believing in supernatural provision transforms your heart into fertile ground where miracles can take root and flourish. Belief is the bridge between your present and your breakthrough. To believe is to step out even when the ground beneath you seems uncertain. It is to lift your eyes beyond your circumstances and fix them on the one whose name is Provider. This belief does not deny reality, it defies it. It looks at the desert and declares rain, looks at the emptiness and declares fullness, looks at the debt and declares freedom. Every great miracle begins with belief. The widow believed enough to pour oil into empty jars. The fisherman believed enough to cast his net one more time. The man in debt believed enough to cry out in prayer. Your provision will not come from doubting, worrying, or reasoning. It will come from believing. And when you believe in supernatural provision, you will not only see your needs met, but you will also discover a life of abundance where blessings overflow, debts are canceled, and doors of opportunity swing wide open. The supernatural waits for one thing: your belief. There is a life designed for you that is far greater than survival, far richer than scraping by, and far more fulfilling than the constant fear of lack. Yet so many settle for bondage, weighed down by endless bills, suffocating debt, and the mindset that this is just how it will always be. That is not your destiny. You were created to walk in abundance, not bondage. Abundance is not only about finances, it is about living in freedom, peace, and overflow in every area of your life. It is about waking up each day unchained, unburdened, and fully confident that your needs are supplied and your cup is running over. Bondage steals your joy, silences your dreams, and keeps your spirit small, but abundance breathes life into your vision and gives wings to your future. To walk in abundance means to change your posture from bowed down in fear to standing tall in faith. It is to walk like a child of the King, not a servant to debt collectors. When you take steps in faith, you declare to the world and to yourself that you were not made to be enslaved by lack, but to flourish in overflow. Abundance is more than numbers in a bank account. It is a mindset that transforms how you see the world. A person in bondage looks at opportunities and sees impossibilities, but a person walking in abundance sees doors opening where others see walls. When you believe in abundance, your heart becomes open to creativity, solutions, and breakthroughs that bondage could never allow you to see. This is why many remain stuck. They allow the chains of debt and fear to dictate their vision, but abundance whispers, there is more. Walking in abundance requires daily alignment with faith-filled words, actions of courage, and a refusal to accept anything less than the fullness promised to you. Abundance does not ignore challenges, it confronts them with confidence, knowing that provision and breakthrough are always greater than the problem. When you choose to walk in abundance, you stop living as a prisoner of circumstances and begin to live as an heir of promises too great to be contained by bondage. I remember the story of a young man who grew up in a household where debt was a constant shadow. His parents worked tirelessly, yet the cycle of loans and repayments never seemed to end. When he graduated and entered the workforce, he too fell into the same cycle. Credit cards, unpaid bills, and the weight of financial bondage pressing down. One day he attended a small gathering where the speaker talked about shifting from a bondage mentality to an abundance mentality. Something ignited inside him. He went home and made a radical decision. He would no longer live as a slave to debt. He began declaring abundance daily, no matter how much debt he saw on paper. He worked diligently, sought creative income streams, and trusted in supernatural provision. Within 5 years, not only was he debt-free, but he had also launched a successful business that allowed him to bless others. His testimony became a beacon of hope to his family and community. The moment he chose to walk in abundance instead of bondage, the chains that held generations captive were broken. Walking in abundance also changes the atmosphere of your life. It shifts your home from stress-filled arguments about money to peaceful conversations about dreams and possibilities. It transforms how you parent, how you work, and how you serve. A person in bondage lives in reaction to fear, but a person in abundance lives in response to faith. When you rise each morning and choose to walk in abundance, you step into a flow where doors open, opportunities multiply, and resources chase after you. This is not fantasy. It is a lifestyle that begins with belief and manifests through consistency. When you understand that abundance is your portion, you stop apologizing for wanting more and start embracing the overflow that was meant to be yours all along. Walking in abundance means living with open hands, ready not only to receive, but also to give generously. Bondage keeps your hands clenched in fear. Abundance stretches them wide in faith. Every step you take in abundance pushes back the boundaries that bondage once placed on you. Where fear used to say, "You can't," abundance declares, "You already can." Where bondage whispered, "This is the end," abundance proclaims, "This is only the beginning." Walking in abundance is a daily journey, not a one-time event. It is learning to see every challenge as an opportunity for breakthrough, every need as a stepping stone to freedom. The chains of bondage are heavy, but they were never meant to define you. Your destiny is not to live chained to debt, anxiety, or fear, but to live in freedom, overflow, and peace. Walking in abundance is choosing to align your steps with the truth that you were created for more. And when you take those steps one after another, you will find that abundance is not just something you hope for. It becomes the very ground you walk upon and the very life you live. Beloved, as we reflect on these truths, the message resounds with clarity. Freedom is not a distant dream, but a present reality, waiting for your faith to unlock it. You have the authority to declare freedom with boldness. You have the assurance to believe in supernatural provision. And you have the power to walk daily in abundance, not bondage. Each word of faith you speak, each step of trust you take, and each decision to rise above fear draws you closer to the life of overflow that was designed for you. The chains of debt and lack no longer define you. Instead, your life is marked by victory, breakthrough, and peace. Carry these words with you. Let them echo in your spirit and refuse to let doubt silence your voice. Step boldly into your tomorrow, expecting favor, expecting miracles, and expecting freedom. You are not bound. You are free. You are blessed, and you are chosen for increase. May this truth dwell richly within you, guiding your thoughts and shaping your future. Thank you for joining in this journey of faith and courage. May your life overflow with joy, provision, and victory. God bless you abundantly.